In the wild, survival means finding water. For countless generations, people and animals have wandered arid lands, searching for even the smallest trickle of life. In the desert, every drop is precious, and the struggle for water shapes destinies. For China, a nation with booming cities and growing industries, water scarcity was a national crisis. As millions flocked to urban centers and factories churned day and night, the demand for water soared. Rivers ran low, reservoirs dried up, and the threat of drought loomed over both city and countryside. The pressure was mounting, and the stakes had never been higher. The deserts, like the Taklamakan, were expanding, swallowing farmland and threatening millions. Each year sand dunes crept closer to villages, burying crops and homes. Rural families watched their livelihoods disappear beneath waves of sand, while food production plummeted. The relentless advance of the desert was a silent catastrophe, endangering the future of entire regions. China needed a bold solution: harness the power of distant mountain rivers to create a massive reservoir in the heart of the desert. The idea was as daring as it was daunting. Redirect water from snow-fed rivers high in the mountains, channeling it across hundreds of kilometers to the barren sands below. It would require vision, technology, and the will to reshape the land itself. The plan was audacious. Build Asia's largest man-made lake, a lifeline for a thirsty nation. Engineers and workers would labor in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, constructing colossal dams and carving out new waterways. The scale of the project was unprecedented, and its success would mean hope for millions. This wasn't just about water, it was about food security, new cities, and clean energy. The reservoir would transform barren land into fertile fields, support the growth of vibrant communities and power homes and industries with renewable energy. It was a vision of prosperity, sustainability, and resilience in the face of adversity. The Hongyanhe Reservoir would be a symbol of human ingenuity, a direct challenge to nature's limits. It would stand as proof that determination and innovation could overcome even the harshest environments. For the people of China, it represented hope, a promise that the desert could be tamed, and life could flourish where once there was only sand. But the risks were enormous. The desert's heat, shifting sands, and scale made this a battle against the wild itself. Workers faced blinding sandstorms, scorching temperatures, and unpredictable terrain. Machinery broke down, timelines slipped, and every day brought new challenges. The margin for error was razor-thin, and the consequences of failure were dire. Engineers faced uncharted territory, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They had to invent new techniques, adapt to ever-changing conditions, and solve problems no one had ever encountered before. It was a test of skill, creativity, and endurance on a scale rarely seen in human history. The dream, a blue jewel in a yellow desert, prosperity for millions. Children would play by the water's edge, farmers would harvest abundant crops, and entire communities would thrive where once there was only desolation. The reservoir promised a new beginning, a future shaped by hope and determination. The cost of failure? Unthinkable. If the project faltered, the desert would reclaim its territory, and the dreams of millions would wither away. The stakes were nothing less than survival itself. The stage was set for one of the most ambitious engineering feats in history, a daring gamble to turn the tide against the desert and secure a future for generations to come. Building a dam in the desert is a survival challenge like no other. Here, the sun beats down relentlessly, and the landscape stretches out in endless waves of sand and stone. Every step of construction is a battle against the elements, where even the smallest mistake can have enormous consequences. Engineers had to find solid bedrock beneath shifting sands, a task that required advanced geological surveys and unwavering determination. Transporting every single material, steel, concrete, machinery, meant crossing hundreds of kilometers of hostile, unforgiving terrain. Sandstorms could halt progress for days, and the logistics of moving heavy equipment over dunes demanded constant innovation. Workers endured extreme temperatures and isolation, living in temporary camps far from civilization. They built roads and infrastructure from scratch, often working through the night to avoid the searing daytime heat. The sense of camaraderie was strong, as everyone knew they were part of something historic. Days blurred into weeks, and weeks into months, as the team pushed forward, driven by a shared vision of turning barren land into a source of life. The dam's design was revolutionary. Engineers had to rethink every aspect to suit the harsh desert environment. they developed a special composite material, engineered to withstand wild temperature swings from freezing nights to scorching days, ensuring the dam's integrity for generations. A massive waterproof membrane was installed, stretching across the dam's base, to keep precious water from vanishing into the thirsty earth below, a crucial innovation in such an arid region. After years of relentless effort, the dam finally rose, a concrete giant standing tall against the endless desert horizon, a symbol of human ingenuity and perseverance. When the sluice gates closed, water began to flow, slowly transforming the barren basin into a shimmering lake. The sight of water spreading across the desert was nothing short of miraculous. The Hongyan Reservoir was born, a testament to human ambition and grit. It became a beacon of hope, showing what's possible when vision meets determination. It proved that even the harshest environments could be tamed, at least for a time. The reservoir brought new life to the region, supporting communities, agriculture, and wildlife, and standing as a reminder of what can be achieved when people refuse to give up. With the reservoir full, the desert bloomed. Canals and pipelines irrigated vast new farmlands, turning sand into green fields of cotton and maize. New towns and cities sprang up, offering jobs, clean water, and hope to thousands. Hydroelectric turbines powered factories, fueling economic growth and opportunity. The reservoir became a multi-purpose lifeline, water for people, crops, and industry. Even the climate shifted. Humidity rose, birds returned, and a fishing industry emerged. The Hongyan Reservoir was hailed as a triumph, a symbol of progress and possibility. For a moment it seemed like humanity had truly conquered the desert. Success bred complacency. Demand for water soared as farms and cities expanded beyond original plans. The reservoir's water level began to drop, slowly at first, then alarmingly. The supply couldn't keep up with the relentless thirst of agriculture, industry, and a booming population. Shorelines receded, docks stranded far from water. Tensions rose. Farmers, cities, and downstream communities fought over dwindling supplies. Scarcity fractured the dream of shared prosperity. Pollution worsened, as runoff from farms triggered toxic algal blooms, killing fish and fouling the water. The once pristine reservoir was turning hazardous. Cracks appeared in the grand vision, literally and figuratively. The oasis was on the verge of becoming a mirage. The crisis hit hardest on the people who depended on the reservoir. For generations, these waters had been the lifeblood of entire communities, sustaining crops, livestock, and families. Now, as the water receded, daily life became a struggle for survival. Old Man Wei, once a prosperous farmer, now watched his fields wither as water allocations shrank. His hands, once calloused from years of harvest, now trembled as he sifted through dust where rice once grew. The land that had provided for his family for decades was turning to dust before his eyes, and with it, his hope for the future faded. In the cities, families like Li Na's worried about the safety of their tap water, boiling every drop. Parents whispered anxiously about contamination, and children learned to ration water as if it were a precious treasure. The simple act of turning on a tap became a daily gamble, and trust in the system began to erode. Downstream, traditional villages saw their rivers dry up, their way of life fading as young people left for the cities. The sound of laughter and festivals was replaced by silence and empty homes. Elders watched helplessly as the next generation abandoned ancestral lands, seeking opportunity where water still flowed. The grand plan had overlooked the most vulnerable. Women and children walked miles each day for water, while the elderly and sick suffered in silence. Promises of prosperity had not reached those who needed help the most. For every success story, there was now a tale of struggle and loss. Some fields flourished, but just beyond the fence, neighbors watched their livelihoods slip away. The gap between those with water and those without grew wider with each passing season. Prosperity for some meant hardship for others. The shining towers of the city stood in stark contrast to the crumbling homes of the countryside. The promise of progress had come at a steep price, dividing communities and deepening old wounds. The reservoir, once a symbol of hope, became a source of anxiety and division. Neighbors argued over dwindling supplies, and old friendships fractured under the strain. The water that once united them now set them apart. The human cost was mounting. Livelihoods lost, communities fractured, trust eroded. Markets closed, families split apart, and the social fabric that held villages together began to unravel. The dream of taming the desert was slipping away. Sand crept over once fertile fields, and the proud signs of the Reservoir project faded beneath the relentless sun. Hopes that once soared now seemed as fragile as the cracked earth. The people's desperation was growing as the water disappeared. Each day brought new uncertainty, and the question on everyone's mind was the same: how much longer could they endure? Nature threw a curveball. Climate change. Glaciers feeding the reservoir retreated, snowpacks shrank, and rainfall became unpredictable. Spring floods alternated with long, brutal droughts, emptying the reservoir faster than it could refill. Evaporation stole millions of cubic meters daily. The careful balance engineers had created was overwhelmed by extreme weather and relentless overuse. Water levels plunged to dead pool, too low to generate power or supply cities. Canals ran dry, lights went out, and the desert threatened to reclaim its territory. The great oasis was on the brink of collapse. Millions faced catastrophe as the reservoir failed. As the reservoir shrank, a new threat emerged: arsenic. Concentrated by the dwindling water, this toxic element leached from the earth, contaminating the supply. Health officials found arsenic levels rising, especially dangerous for children. Panic spread as families were told to rely on bottled water, an impossible solution for millions. Trust in the authorities shattered. The crisis exposed flaws in water safety standards and risk management. The fight was no longer just about water quantity, but about protecting public health from an invisible enemy. The reservoir's promise had turned into a silent threat. In crisis, survival demands adaptation. China's leaders and scientists shifted from conquest to careful management. Real-time data from sensors and satellites fed new forecasting models, guiding smarter water releases. Dynamic allocation replaced rigid rules, conserving water for droughts. High-efficiency irrigation and water recycling slashed waste. Desalination plants brought new supplies inland. Public campaigns promoted conservation, and agreements protected traditional communities downstream. Painful reforms and new technology began to turn the tide. Progress came not from one grand gesture, but from thousands of coordinated actions. The fight to save the reservoir was on, smarter, not bigger. The Hongyanhe Reservoir's story is a lesson in ambition, hubris, and humility. Engineering can reshape landscapes, but nature always has the final say. True survival means respect and balance, not conquest. Climate change and overuse expose the limits of even the grandest projects. The real measure of success is the well-being of all communities, not just economic output. Water connects us all, from glacier to field to city. The near disaster in the desert is a warning. We must manage water wisely, or face the consequences. But it's also a story of hope, of learning, adapting, and finding new balance. With courage and innovation, we can turn the tide. Because in the end, water is life.